Hi, my name is Aspen Stitt, and this is my statistics final presentation. So to start, this is just the link to my video. So for the hypothesis, we hypothesized that the population mean age of people who like Foothill KJ's espresso bar is more than 22 years of age. We hypothesized that a majority of people at Foothill College like KJ's. So for the mean notation, the mean X is the age of people at Foothill College who like KJ's. The population mean is the age of the person at Foothill who likes KJ's. Mu represents the population mean age of people who like KJ's Cafe. So we hypothesized that the population mean age of people who like Foothill KJ's Cafe espresso bar is more than 22 years of age. So our null hypothesis, mu equals 22 years. This is the population mean age of people who like KJ's is 22 years. And then our alternate hypothesis was mu is greater than 22 years. So this is the population mean age of people who like KJ's Cafe is greater than 22 years. So for population notation, this is the population proportion, which is a binomial, likes KJ's or does not. We hypothesize that a majority of people at Foothill College like KJ's Cafe. So the null hypothesis is p equals 0.5, and that's just the proportion of people at Foothill College who like KJ's is 50%. And our alternate was p is greater than 0.5, meaning that more than 50% of people at Foothill College like KJ's Cafe. So p represents the proportion of people who like KJ's Cafe at Foothill College. Now on to the next slide, sampling methodology. So we use a systematic sampling method where we surveyed 50 people at Foothill College using a systematic sampling method. We asked every fifth person who walked past the library. Using this method allowed us to ensure a random sample of participants while combining some structure to the data collection. And below is just a link to the data collection. So for the next slide, data collection questions. For the population proportion hypothesis, do you like the cafe food at Foothill College from KJ's? The responses for that were yes and no. And for the population mean hypothesis, we asked, how old are you? So for the types of graphs that we used a bar graph to represent the proportion of people who like KJ's Cafe, yes or no. We also did a scatter plot to show the distribution of ages of people who like KJ's Cafe. And this really helped us to visualize the spread and frequency of age data. So now on to the next slide, which is the data graphs. These are just to visually represent the data that we collected and the impact of that. So for the plan for this project, for the age data, we wanted to calculate the sample mean, the median, the standard deviation, the range. For the proportion data, I'll talk about that in a minute. We basically just wanted to calculate the sample proportion of people who like KJ's Cafe. So here I just showed on this next slide the people who answered yes and their ages, just so that could be shown visually. From there, we calculated the mean, which we got to be 25.125 or 25.13 rounded. So now onto the calculation slide. I showed at the top the proportion of people who like KJ's, which we calculated. P is the number of yes responses divided by the total number of responses. So that was 40 divided by 50, or 0.8. Therefore, the proportion of people who like KJ's is 80%, which is greater than the 50%. And then down below, we calculated the standard deviation, which we got to be 4.78 years. And this is important for further calculations. So first, we did hypothesis testing. We did a mean hypothesis test, which was just a one sample t-test to determine if the sample mean age was greater than 22 years. We also did a proportion hypothesis test, or a one samples D test, for proportions to determine if greater than 50% of people like KJ's Cafe. So this is one sample t-test is shown below. We have the formula and the steps that we took to get 4.14. And n minus 1 is 40 minus 1, which is 39 at the 0.05 significance level. So the critical value that we found was T 0.0539, gave us 1.685, and those calculator steps are shown below, how we found that. So since 4.14, that value that we got, is greater than the critical value, 1.685, we reject the null hypothesis and conclude that the mean age of people who like KJs is greater than 22 years. So now onto the hypothesis test, population proportion that likes KJs. Here at the top, I just put this Z value formula, which the calculations are shown, gave us 4.25. So since 4.25 is greater than that critical value, 1.685, that we found, we reject the null hypothesis and conclude that more than 50% of people at the college like KJ's Cafe. So now onto the confidence intervals. So 95% confidence interval for the population mean age of people who like KJ's Cafe. We did this, and then we moved on to the 95% confidence interval for the population proportion of people who like KJ's Cafe, and this is shown below. So here again, for the confidence intervals, we put the 95% confidence interval formula at the top, showed our calculations and our calculator steps that we used to get this. So 25.13 was that margin of error, which we then add with the value we found, 1.528. And this is going to give us the range of 23.60 and 26.66. So this basically just means that between 3.60 and 26.66 years of age is what we found. So now for the confidence interval proportion, this is that formula that we used, shown up top, and some of the calculations that gave us the number 0.111. The margin of error, 0.8 plus and minus 0.111, gave us the range of 0.689 and 0.9111. So now onto this next slide, the conclusion slide. So just an overall overview, we did both the 95% confidence intervals and that hypothesis testing to find the range and just all that data, which led to the conclusion that the mean age of people who like KJ's Cafe is greater than 22 years of age. The confidence interval suggested that the mean age is between 23.60 and 26.66, and we found that from those calculations that gave us that range. And the hypothesis test confirmed that this difference is statistically significant. So overall, we conclude that people who like KJ's Cafe are older than 22 years, and more than 50% of people like KJ's Cafe. So overall, just from this project, some things that we learned, we really hope to be able to use this information in the future to help KJ's Espresso Bar at Foothill College just be able to cater to different demographics. It seems like right now they're more catered towards this older crowd, and so maybe they need to do some adjustments to their menu or their advertising or marketing to be able to hit these younger generations. So we really hope that the information that we gathered, we can do further testing to see how we can help KJs diversify a little bit.